Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space for entrepreneurs on a quest for unwavering certainty and purpose. I'm your host, Lauren, and each episode is a compass guiding you through authentic conversations, unraveling the mysteries of your human design chart, and offering tools from the remarkable guest. Join me as we embark on a journey to manifest greatness and create a life aligned with our deepest purpose. This is the space where misfits find their enlightenment. Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Natasha Randolph. She is an amazing psychic medium, and I will let her kind of tell you about who she is and a little bit about her story and how she got to where she is today. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Natasha Randolph. Some people know me as Psychic Medium Natasha, and I'm a professional psychic medium, a certified Reiki master, and I also love being a spiritual mentor for people. I basically collaborate with other people's spirit teams to help them gain that clarity, guidance, or healing so that they can be their most empowered selves, their way. For what works best for their highest good. That's something I'm very big on is regardless of what the nitty-gritty truth is or what you want to dive into, I want there to be clear understanding of why this is the way it is, what your unique blockage is, and what can you do within your ability that feels best and resonates with you to be able to get where you want to be. So that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, I love that. Can you kind of share a little bit about your discovery into your intuitive abilities and
Oh
how
my gosh. Yeah, it's funny looking back because I just recently had a birthday and I first started this journey when I was 7. That's when I consciously was aware of, okay, I'm able to do certain things. But when I was first discovering it at 7, it was more so me looking for answers on why am I experiencing this, but no one's like talking about it. Why does it happen like this and what does it mean? What can I do about this? Like, I just wanted some answers and some clarity on these things happening because during that time, I was starting the first abilities that I was coming into was my clairvoyance. So I was being able to see things, and I was like, oh my gosh, do y'all see this? And they're like, what are you talking about, little girl? And I could see in the beginning, I remember I was starting to see the aura colors, the spirits. I was starting to see like residual energetic like remnants. Like I was starting to become more aware of all these layers happening around us. And I just was simply like, okay, well, what am I looking at? What is that doing? So as I got deeper into allowing myself to just be calm and focus on what I was seeing, then it's like the more I opened myself to diving deeper into that, and it just more so snowballed into all these abilities that I've been able to do. But it first started with clairvoyance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love that. And you said at 7 too. So that had to have been a little bit of a journey and you're like, what's going on? Or you couldn't really, I guess, describe that experience like you probably could today.
Yeah, it was definitely hard because I remember at first I was thinking, well, maybe I'm just, imagining it because I'm little and I have a big imagine. Like I was first thinking, well, maybe it's just me, I'm just crazy or just imagining things. But then when you would see things just what I know now is synchronicity just being repeated very specifically, like in your face, it's like, okay, this is something to it. This is a pattern. And then I started like, like those little details would come about and I'd be like, okay, so it's not in my mind. And then I would see something like in a dream and have that deja vu and it would happen. And then they would confirm like, oh my gosh, how did you know? So those little things really started to, I guess, give me that validation because at that time I didn't have someone to go back and forth with to have feedback or to be like, does this happen to you? What does this mean? So that was definitely a scary time for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I joke and say that like when I was born, it's like I just knew kind of thing. I mean, it probably wasn't when I was born, but, I was very young too, like you. And thank God that I had my grandmother. Now, my mom was not aware of, me talking to my grandmother about it, but I distinctly remember when I was like 4 and 5 talking to my grandmother about it. And then she passed over when I was like, I don't know, how old was I in seventh grade? Maybe 12, maybe 11, something like that. So then I was just like, oh, now what do I do? So then it was like, but I felt like my intuitive gifts kind of were strengthened because then I already knew that I could talk to her. I just couldn't physically see her anymore. But then I realized I could physically see her because of my intuitive abilities. So it was really interesting when I was, I feel like I believe in, you probably believe the same thing, but I believe in death, like not like the rest of the world. Like I don't fear it. I understand it. It's not, it's just like their physical bodies are no longer here. You can still communicate with their spirits and, sure, you want to physically see them, but it's just not what's supposed to happen, right?
Yeah, I believe in the same thing. Like that's a big part of not just like the work I do with my clients, but like my personal spiritual practice as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. So I know before we got on, we talked a little bit about the safe option for you. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about when you were in nursing school and why you decided to leave to pursue your spiritual work?
Yes. Okay. So let's get into it. So when I was a senior in high school, there was a vote technical program that was put out there. They were like, okay, if you pass this like entry exam, then you are eligible and you basically are in, and you can go in from CNA to LPN. So that's like the bottom level of nursing to like the next step, which was pretty spectacular considering how much like that would cost and stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, like my mom and dad were in healthcare. So I was like, yeah, like I love helping people. Let's try. I know it's like constant money. So that was my thinking at the time. So I did the exam, I passed it. I went into the actual schooling of it, and I actually enjoyed the anatomy and physiology. I loved that. But
Yeah.
then it started coming down time to, okay, let's do clinical training and let's do the medication math formulation stuff so that you're not, hurting people when you're giving them their meds. And oh my gosh, like I discovered that I loved understanding how the body worked.
Mm.
But once you were actually doing the hands-on training of, okay, let's go to maybe this hospice care or like unit, or let's go to the senior care home, like as that's what they let you train on, is taking on their vitals, more so, and kind of just helping the actual CNAs like be their extra hand so that we could get our hours in for the training. During that part, we were going back and forth between a hospice care unit and then some nursing home. We would just go, I guess, alternate the different weeks. And I realized when I would, at that point, I was 18, I would touch their wrist to get their pressure and, get their vitals and stuff. And I would realize that when I would touch their hand or touch like their bed, I would start um I would start feeling all these emotions and start seeing these memories in my mind, and I was like, "Oh no. This is horrible." I was like, I'm feeling and knowing all this stuff. I was like, this is going to kill me. This is going to drain me. But at first I was like, okay, let me push it out my head because this is good money. But then as I guess I kept getting older or just getting more into it, I realized I was really going deeper into my empathic abilities, and it just became so overwhelming. I felt so open as my energy and just so very entangled into everything and everyone at that point in time. I did not have the know-how or the practice to be able to do my spiritual hygiene, because at that time I wasn't aware of that, of really what that was. So
Mm.
I realized at that point, I was like, okay, if I understand that when I'm doing this work, this is how it's going to be for me, can I realistically put the time in and the stamps in to basically make this my career. And I knew in my heart of hearts, I was like, I have no idea what my thing will be or what I'm going to do next, but I know in my heart of hearts and in my soul that this is not for me and I have to accept that. So I'm not going to lie, I was so disappointed because I was thinking I'm really giving up something safe. Like, nurses, they can find work anywhere, even if they transfer or whatever. Like they're always going to need that for healthcare. But I was at the point where I was so deep and even growing into my abilities, I just knew that I would feel very drained and burnt out, and I would feel like I'm chipping away at myself, and I could not find it in my heart to just commit to that. So I had to give it up, and it was scary, but I knew it would not work out, and it wasn't worth trying to lie to myself and convince myself and just do it and then give up it. Like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think that that was like the turning point that made you realize like this is not my path and I need to just listen? I feel like your story and what you just said was really powerful, especially I think a lot of people right now are like they're in a 9 to 5 or they're in a career that they've had for so long and it's been the financial piece of I can't leave it because then what am I going to do? I feel like you're just listening to it, your story is like you can. If this is not your path, then just takes courage and inner trust to like I need to go do something else, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I think a big thing that people don't think about with, well, how do I know this is for me or not, is that it's almost like you're trying to convince your mind of something, but your body rejects it.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering, well, why am I not able to do this so easily or move like this or pursue this? And it's like because your body knows. Like even if, you're trying to tell your mind this. So if something's not for you, you can lock up or feel tight or feel heavy, fatigued, drained, and it just chips away at you. And I just knew I was like, I have fought so hard to get to this place with myself. And if I know this about myself, then I need to just know that, okay, if this is not it, then there has to be something. I didn't know what it could be. And I was scared, like how long that would take. But I just was like, at this point, I know. So I got to stand on that choice and just keep going. And that's what it was for me.
Yeah. I was going to say that's, I mean, that's a huge part. I know, yeah, last week we talked about, or it's this week podcast that airs this week. We talked about like entrepreneurship and risk and stuff. And it just like, a lot of people I feel like think that they're not qualified for something and the one thing that he said, which stuck with me through my own self-doubt, like just with my own business or something like that, that it's like you're already qualified. You don't need to have a certification. You don't need to have a title. You don't have to have all these numbers or letters behind your last name to be qualified. I feel like that in itself with your story of like the courage and just listening to the fact that and even if you don't know, like when I took the leap of faith too to leave my 9 to 5 very successful high risk OB ultrasound job, it was the same thing. I woke up one day and I was like, I love what I do. I can't take this energy with me to my patients. It's not their fault. I can't figure out what's going on with me. They shouldn't deserve that energy, and I did it for 10 years and it's just like I loved it. And then I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to. And my mom, of course, my whole family, I have a single mom and 6-month old. And she's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I have no idea. I guess the universe is going to show me. And she's looking at me like, Lauren, what is wrong? You're crazy. But I mean, fast forward to now, 5 years later, I mean, it makes sense. And, she's like, well, I guess it counts to trust yourself. I'm like, I had no idea. My mind was telling me I shouldn't do it, but my body was like, this is what we're doing. And
Yeah.
you're going to come along. So come on. Yeah. So, kind of talk to us a little bit about, Reiki and energy work. Is that kind of like what you started getting into after the nursing, after you left nursing, or was it kind of like simultaneously? And how did that like your practice evolve into?
Yeah. So when I first got into Reiki just for myself, I actually was just going in for my own healing work to be done to me. I was looking for like a trusted practitioner in the area. And then I found her, which ended up later being my mentor, which I was learning and getting certified from. But I
Yeah.
met her and I was just trying to heal some blockages within myself because I just felt like I feel like this is in the way and I'm aware of it, but I need help to release this and integrate so I can get past this point. And that's what I knew I needed, but I just didn't know how to get there for myself. So I went to have that done to me. And once I realized like just how it affected me with my energy, I was like, wow, this is a great like deep reset for my energy, which feels so nice since I'm always so deeply entangled and aware of so much. So I was like, this is so nice. And then I was like, I want to understand more about like what exactly it is and how it works. And then I started to realize I was like, okay, this is so interesting. I want to be able to practice this one day. So I didn't immediately jump into it. It took me a couple of years because I felt like at first I needed to do my own healing work before I was really being that for others. But I started actually pursuing the practice of Reiki so I could do it. Um, it was about the time I started doing professional readings for people. I at first I wasn't an LLC. I just had like a Facebook business page just to start off, and I just decided to do some ads to be like, hey, if you want to book with me, here's a link and you can book with me here and then we'll meet like on phone call or FaceTime. That's what it was at first. And then we just started like that and then eventually became my full time. But once I started doing like the reading, I was like, you know what? If I'm not afraid to tell people that I'm a psychic medium and a witch, then I want to also just pursue my interest and what I feel called to within my spiritual practice. So I was like, okay, I want to invest in this. And because I was starting out, I couldn't just do level one, level two, level like how other people were like boom, boom, boom. I was like, okay, at first I'm gonna do level one, and then I'll do this for me for a little bit, and then when I have the money and I feel called to, I'll do the next level, and that's how it was for me. So I just little by little like one year I did level one, the next year I did level two, and then the next year I did Reiki Master. So that's how it progressed.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, thank you for saying that too. I feel like mine was kind of the same way after my, I don't even know what spiritual awakening that was, but whatever it was after my like near death experience, maybe, or maybe it was after my divorce or my like nasty custody battle. But I did level one, too. And then I was like, I don't, I personally love Reiki. I really do. I just don't do it like the rest of the world. So I got into Theta Reiki because I feel like I like doing that better. So that was a piece of it. But then I also went, I knew I had to, I resisted the shamanic journey for a very long time. So I do it, I know I needed to go down that path again to clear out karma and stuff. But so then I was like, I got, Reiki 1, 2, 3 master. And then I did, which was very similar. It's very similar to the shamanic path. It's just a little bit different how the rituals are. So with all of that, I realized, oh my goodness, it's just me getting in my way. But I had the only reason why I feel like I'm saying this is because there is a past life of mine, which was very clear to me when I had a past life regression done, that I used to abuse my power. Same thing with when I was a witch. I feel like every lifetime I was probably some type of witch or whatever, and it was very dark stuff. I would always use my power to hurt people. And this lifetime, it was very clear to me because I never done that. It was even so hard for me to even charge for services. Like when you say FaceTime, same thing. I started doing the same thing. Like I didn't pay for Zoom. I didn't make it like a business until Spirit was like, you need to start treating this like a business. If you want to make, I
Right.
would, like I would say, I don't have money or not, people aren't coming to me. And it's like, you're not treating it like a business. So I was like, okay, so let me treat it like a business, whatever. So doing all that, but it's very clear to me too, and you probably can resonate with this too, but I realized that every single block in my life was coming from a past life that I was refusing to clear, or I was refusing to look at because I already knew. So I do know when somebody had said to me, well, why did you become a shamanic practitioner? You say all this like you don't believe in, I don't say I don't believe in it, but it's like you don't need titles, you don't do this. I was like, well, if you're a practitioner, you need to know how to do it right. So it's like, but you don't need to be certified to do human design or certified to do astrology or whatever. You don't need to be a certified witch. You just know, you know? But yeah, I say this to say that a lot of people don't go down their path, or maybe skip this lifetime, or they feel like they don't know enough. And it's just like, if you have that courage to jump in, I feel like that's literally what you've explained this entire time, that you could do it. You just have to kind of, be serious about it and tell the universe what you want. Be like very demanding. This is
Yes,
what I want.
very specific.
Yes, this is what I want. Stop doing things you don't want, because the universe is like, oh, well, she's fine. She's fine doing this. So that's what we're going to keep doing, So, yeah. So can you kind of talk a little bit about, I feel like this has been a big, huge topic in the spiritual community. I feel like it always is, but intuition. When you talk about like empowering others to trust themselves, like, can you talk about like what it means to like stop outsourcing your intuition? Like, what does that mean for you?
Yes. Like, I think a lot of people, when they're trying to master their intuition, they're always looking for just the outside, like, oh, that's it. That's the proof. That's the validation. I can't argue with this. There it is. But there's some times when things are up in the air because it's unfolding. There are some things happening behind the scenes, or things happening simultaneously that you may be over here and it's happening over here in real time. Like, there's just some things where in certain cases that's not possible. And I realized that for me, instead of, being like, this don't work, that don't work, I'm more so just kind of guiding you of how can I feel or tune into this on my own and be able to recognize that feeling and expand into that, so I can let these impressions or downloads or whatever I sense really comes through. Because a lot of us, we put, like, it's like we have it in our minds of how it should be. Like, okay, if this was for me, it's going to show up like this in this way. And then like it's so specific how they have it in their mind, but then they block out all the other ways it could come. Like maybe they think, okay, if this is for me, then I'm going to see, this specific yellow flower and hear like this song. But if you're only allowing it to come in that way, or that's what you're open to, then you're blocking out, well, what if it comes as a gut feeling? Or what if your ears are ringing? Like, there's other ways that we pick up, and people don't realize that. So instead of looking for that outside of, okay, I can't argue with, there it is, a lot of us, we actually, like, whether it's our body or our actual aura or just our spirit teams, we're going to pick up on like these red flags or like these little subtleties where it's like, you know what? Damn. And, and it's not until things build up where they're like, oh, wow, this turned into this, but I kind of knew I should have. And that's how it always is. They're always like, I kind of had a feeling, but I didn't trust in it because I just want to give them benefit of the doubt or whatever. And it's like, sweetie, why are you like, when you feel like, that's what I try to teach people is like, how can I tune in to what sensation I'm picking up energy wise or in my body? And then I help them be able to recognize it as what it is, so that when they experience that feeling or that trigger or the download or whatever, they're like, okay, I see what this is. Okay. And then they can be still with themselves to be able to let more come through. That's what I like to do. See those little light bulbs and like, oh, that's how that works. That makes sense. That's what I love to do.
Hey there, I just wanted to take a quick moment to share with all of you spiritual rebels and fempreneurs. If you've been craving a space where you can build wealth, heal trauma, and rise alongside like-minded women, I got something for you to hear about. I'm excited to invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. This is a low-cost, high-impact group membership designed exclusively for spiritual fempreneurs who know they need accountability and support to create sustainable wealth, but aren't ready to dive into a one-on-one mentorship. In this membership, you'll get monthly calls, rituals, healing sessions, and workshops to break through your self-doubt and build confidence so that you can consistently sell your offers and make money. This is also a collaborative private Facebook community where you make lifelong connections with other women who are just as serious as hitting their goals. And my personal guidance as your intuitive human design business guide and trauma healer, ensuring you stay aligned and on track with your business goals. Plus, you'll get free access to all my paid workshops and masterclasses, along with exclusive VIP pricing for my one-on-one Voxer membership. This membership is all about helping you heal the sabotaging behaviors blocking your abundance and using your human design to create a business that feels amazing to run. Imagine waking up excited to serve your clients and knowing that you have the exact support you need to hit every single one of your business goals every single month. So if you're ready to rise and build wealth with a sisterhood of spiritual misfits, make sure you click the registration link in the description box. Right now, the investment is just $88 a month, but the price will increase to $197 a month. Join today to unlock exclusive rates and get access to next month's kickoff call. Let's get back to today's episode, but remember, your next level is just one decision away. Join the sisterhood and let's rise together.
Yeah. Now, why do you think so many of us have lost touch with our inner guidance?
Honestly, there's a few factors, but I feel like a big one is that we are living in our heads and we're not present in the now and in our living in our bodies. We're very scattered, we're always on the go. So we're disconnected from ourselves and we're so scattered. And some people, they choose to look backwards at the past and they stay there too long. Some people are really trying to anticipate the future, always looking to the future, so they're not in the present. So that's why it is, because if you're not centered, grounded into your body, into this reality, like you're not physically fully here, how can you expect yourself to be able to pick up and let alone be aware of and recognize and receive the downloads and signs and synchronicities and dreams and all this stuff? Like you're not here to see it and receive it and be aware of it. So like, how's it going to come to you? It's going to fly over you. It's going to miss you because you're so focused on what happened before or what might be coming, or you're just living in your head because you're not really here. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. And I love that you're saying that. And I literally just had this conversation with my husband probably the other week when he just different things, and he's like, well, I have anxiety, it's like my superpower. And I'm like, what? Who calls anxiety their superpower? And then I'm like, no, you might not feel depressed, so you're not living in the past, but you're living in the future. And I was like, you're missing every single moment and every single thing that you could experience. And I said, and of course I see patterns like most of us do. And I'm like, I see a pattern of how he deals with stress. And, he's been gaining weight. And I'm like, oh, it's probably because of the way that you deal with stress. Like I'm just saying different stuff, like trying to help him, not trying to solve it for him. Because I often thought that I put so much energy into helping him with his intuition that I just kind of like let go of like, oh, we'll just figure it out, like most of us do. And he now says, like, I'm just going to go with my gut and I'm just going to do this. And normally and it's always the right choice, So I love that you said that, because I feel like even when I can't make a decision or I don't know how to make a decision, like the right decision, I try to sit with it, especially, being an emotional authority in human design. I don't know if you know anything about human design, but I have to wait for stuff. If something excites me, I immediately want to say yes, but then it's like, is it right? So I usually ask my body, it's like the theta body testing. Like I'll ask my body, should I do this? And then I get a yes or no, like this way forward or backwards. And then I'll ask it again. Like, I'm just checking. Are you sure? So yeah. So I feel like that is a huge part of, spirituality and maybe a personal awakening, that people could definitely, I feel like all these tools that you've given us are really, good for personal spiritual awakening, or maybe some like practical exercises that people could do. So you talked about spiritual hygiene earlier, and how you didn't really know much about it, but now it's a very important part of your teaching. Could you kind of give like a detailed example of like how, or I should say, what good spiritual hygiene looks like on a daily basis for you?
Yes. And it's in a very specific order too. You can't just like do these things out of whack and hope to get the result. Like there's a very specific way you have to go about being intentional with your energy and maintaining it. That's what spiritual hygiene is. So what that looks like is, oh, I need to ground. I need to connect with Mother Earth, and I need to like I see grounding as it's called a energy exchange. You
Mhm.
allow yourself to make the intention to connect with Mother Earth so that you could be present and grounded in your body and in the now. But also, I'm going to connect with the earth because I'm ready to dump all this heavy nastiness that I just don't want to carry no more. I'm going to give it to the earth. And then with your breath, as I'm exhaling, I'm going to release this ickiness. And then I'm going to absorb with my inhale all this good vitality, stability, and all that nourishment from the earth. So you do that grounding. Usually it's like 10 or 15 minutes, but if you've never allowed yourself to do it, you may need longer. And there's more than one way to ground, but it's just the intention of I need to connect with Mother Earth in some way and get in my body so that I can release what I'm holding on to in my body or in my energy field. And then I will be more recharged, revitalized. I will feel more me so I can start about my day. So after you ground, then you want to release. And there's different forms of release. There's physical release, emotional release, and energetic release. So physical release, that's when you're using intentional movement to connect with your body to release from your body. That could be like stretching, massage, yoga, exercise, even sweating in a sauna, like things like that, where you can sweat and move your body, connect with those muscles and tissues. So after you do your physical release, sometimes that can even trigger the emotions to be stirred up in you where they're pouring out of you. And that's what emotional release is. You're just releasing this feeling and allowing it to move through you instead of just being stuck in you. So whether that's screaming, crying, journaling, rage rooms, whatever that is, you're choosing to feel it and allow it to flow out. And then once you prioritize that physical and emotional release after a while, you eventually start to realize, you know what? This thing happened to me, or this trigger happens, but I realized when I broke it down for what it was, it's connected to this bad habit or this belief or this toxic relationship. And that's when you're ready to, when you mentally understand, okay, I can see it for the lesson it is, and I understand this is not good for me, but I also emotionally accept this, then you're ready to do like that cord cutting, which is a form of energetic release. So that's the deepest level of releasing. And you have to work your way there and make sure your mind and heart are aligned to be able to feel ready to actually let that go on the deepest level. So you have your grounding, your releasing, and then after that, it's time for energy reset. So we have to cleanse. And there's more than one way to cleanse, but it just means I'm going to purify and clear my energy of any heaviness, any stagnancy, anything that's negative, so it's not affecting me or weighing me down. So, whether that's incense or selenite or taking an Epsom bath or whatever that is, you're allowing yourself to just get that ick, that gunk, that negativity, that stagnant, dense stuff off of you. After you cleanse, then you want to, what I call shield. You want to add your protection. And there's more than one way to do it. But the way I describe aura shielding is that you are wearing some form of protection that you resonate with, that you can wear all day so that your protection follows you. So whether that's veiling or braiding your hair, wearing a hat, anointing, wearing jewelry, wearing symbols, whatever that is, specific colors, you're allowing yourself to, okay. And another thing is don't ever just have one thing of protection. You need to layer your protection because people are crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
so after your grounding,
Yeah.
your releasing, your cleansing, and then your protection, the last thing is I need to allow myself to raise my vibration and be magnetic. And that's what it is. So to raise your vibration, all that means is I'm going to choose things that make me feel my best. That's all that means. So that can mean fresh fruit and produce, vegetables. That could be drinking more water or coconut water. Like it's just you're eating light and you're, listening to music that makes you laugh and you're moving your body. Like it's just you're doing everything to physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually make you feel your best. And that's you raising your vibration because when you are vibrating very high, you're not on the same wavelength for all this horrible lower vibrational stuff to even meet you. So, and that's very important, especially when you are channeling. If you just vibrate so high, then it's easier for you to connect with angels and other stuff like that too. So that's the order. It's the grounding, releasing, aura cleansing, aura shielding, and then raising your vibration. But another thing I have to say about spiritual hygiene is it's not just your aura, it's also your personal space because your personal space is an extension of your energy. So what that looks like is that's your car, that's your bedroom, that's your work office, whatever that may be. But when we are, going out and about and then coming to these spaces, we are bringing all that stuff that we absorb throughout the day or that we're holding in. And then if you're like screaming in a certain room or in your car or whatever, or crying always like in your one corner, then that's the energy that's like you're feeding into and that's accumulating and building up in that space. So sometimes people can't remember their dreams or they have creative blocks and all this stuff because the energy that you're sitting in, bringing home day by day or whatever you're like, they build up. So just it's not just your aura, it's also going to be your space. And that's what I have to say about spiritual hygiene.
Thank you for all that. And actually, it was just a reminder that I need to do more. I mean, I usually do all of the things that you said, but grounding sometimes. Like I feel like I do it more like in the shower, or sometimes I forget. It's been so hot here. I'm like, I don't even want to go outside. So I do it other way. Like I do it other ways to like ground meditation wise, or like a grounding meditation or something like that. But I need to go more into nature. So that was definitely my reminder as well. I want to kind of talk a little bit about like some rituals that you do and then like collaborating with spirit teams before we wrap up. So like many people want to work with your spirit team, but they don't really know where to begin. Could you kind of walk us through like a practice maybe, or like a process that you do with creating?
Yes, I love this. I love this so much. Okay, so first and foremost, you always want to make sure you prep your space. So if it's cluttered and there's a bunch of crap everywhere, you gotta clear that, like physically clean that out or organize that or donate, throw away, whatever. Then you may want to actually cleanse the space, like maybe burn some incense or clap or ring some bells, like open the windows, like just to get the freshness in and to keep things like energetically clear and moving. That's important. But once your space is prepared, it's really important to be specific with what you are inviting and opening yourself up to. So if you do not know the names of your ancestors, your spirit guides, your soul family, and other parts of your spirit team, that's okay. I would say it along the lines of something like, in this moment, I call upon my ancestors, my spirit guides, and my soul family that is aligned with me, that serves my highest good. That way, when you are trying to connect and open yourself up to them and like make it known what intention and who like the target is, you want to make sure that, okay, I'm calling my spirit team that's basically like for me, that wants the best for me, that wants not to harm. Like you want to say something along the lines of that, so that way you're not just saying, oh, anything that wants to call themselves this, because that's very important. So yeah, so when you're calling out to them, you want to be very specific. If you don't know the name, say something like that. If you do have like a deceased family member or something like that, or like a pet where you're like, I want to connect with them on the other side, I do know their name, then the way that works is you want to focus in your mind like their name, how they looked, like any memories very strong in your mind. Then you want to focus on the emotional bond, or yeah, the emotional bond you'll have with one another, because that strengthens the link. So you have it in your mind and in your heart, and then you speak their name out loud. So very specifically say their full name or the name of the dog or whatever that is. And then simply just by that, the big thing is, okay, I'm not I'm going to let it come to me however it comes. Meaning I'm not going to say spirit has to show me or let me hear this or I have to I'm not going to put any parameters around how it comes because I want myself to be open anyway because when you're open-minded then those specific details on the nose things we're like, "Oh my God, how that's when the details come." So you have to be completely open mind and present. And when you open yourself up to that, the next step is okay, once you call out to them, can you be still enough to allow yourself to be able to pick up on these things? Which means, is something coming to my mind? Am I getting a color in my brain? Am I smelling or tasting something? Am I getting some goosebumps? Am I getting a gut feeling? There's so many different ways it comes. But that's the part that people get stuck on is once they call out to spirit or whatever, it's not about the tools. It's about I need to be open-minded and very specific with who I'm inviting and focusing on. But other than that, it's just about remaining neutral so that way these other details may come to you. And then other people, they have some senses are more stronger than others. So, you may have strong gut feeling and maybe your ears ring sometimes, but some people they have a lot of things that come to them in the mind or they can visually see it and that's okay. Just everyone has their strengths but you don't want to be so stuck and uptight on how you want it to come that you don't receive it all these other ways. So the main thing is prep your space, be very specific with who you're opening up to and who you're inviting. But beyond that, you just want to be still and neutral so that you can be able to pick up and receive these things. And I think it's very helpful for people when they are absolutely beginning this type of work to write down their question, then pause and then write down anything that comes to you, whether it's colors or I'm thinking about this or I'm hearing a song in my brain. However it comes, just write it down. You might get more later. And when you start to focus like that, it kind of trains you to, you know what? I'm focusing on this. Oh, I recognize that feeling. I can feel their presence. I know it's them. Like it allows you to train yourself to get used to picking up on their frequency. And the more you do it like that, then the faster and more natural it comes.
Yeah. Now, are these some of the signs that people, like somebody that could begin to receive guidance so that they could practice with so they know, like, would you, that,
Like receiving from spirit, like how do they know if that's really from them or like their
yeah,
mind? Is that what you
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So a big thing is that people wonder, well, how do I know if I'm making this all up? Well, the thing is that that's what it would feel like. Do you feel like you're trying to convince yourself, or do you feel like, hmm, this is a very specific, vague thing, and I don't even know how it's relevant? Because that's how you know it's on the nose. But like the main thing is when you are picking up on these things, do you feel tight or locked up or because like those or anxiety like that's like your body and everything like kind of like it's like you trying to tell it's like you're trying to tell your mind like convince your mind of something but your body's like no that's not it, so that sometimes could be like a sign of like okay, but usually when you're receiving from spirit it feels light, it can flow through you with ease, you feel calm. So even if you're like, I don't know how this makes sense, what is this? That's what it feels like when you're picking up from spirit, especially if it's like someone from your spirit team, because they don't want you no harm. They're not trying to intimidate you or harm you or take away from you. They're very much there for you. So when you receive your downloads and impressions from them, even if you're like, I don't know how this makes sense or how does that come about? I don't know if I want to trust in this. Well, even if you're still skeptical, um, it's going like it could sometimes feel like, this is very specific, but how is that relevant? Like, where is this coming from? Like, when it's something that you're trying to convince yourself, then it's almost like sometimes you can have panic attacks. You can feel very anxious, depressed. Like it's like your body kind of locks up and gets very anxious and like it feels triggered. And you don't feel that when you're connecting with your spirit. That's something you feel with like malicious or like spirits or like something dark. But like when it's your spirit team, you should feel calm and even if you don't understand it or it doesn't make sense at the time, you're not going to feel scared or, like locked up in that way. It's something that feels light and an energy, and it just flows through you with ease. So it's like no rejection. It's like a truth. That's how I explain that.
Okay. Yeah. I is I when I do like collective readings, or if I'm doing like a reading for somebody, it's just the way that I kind of know that it's not no resistance is like, obviously I do a whole ritual before, but it's like random things will come through. It'll be like I see I don't know, like a blue tent or like a blue pool or something, like something random that I'm like, I don't even know what that. But then the other person is like, oh yeah, that's so and so, or that's my grandmother because we used to go to the beach, or oh, we used to go camping, that all that stuff. So it's like I used to question like, is this for me, or like this doesn't make any sense, or when I'm doing like readings, or I would be scared to kind of say it, but it was like that moment of that is what I needed to say to have that other person believe that I am actually channeling whoever, that what
Yeah. And that's literally
so
how it comes too. They're like, oh my
random
gosh,
stuff.
how do you know that? Or that's so funny. And you're like,
Yeah,
I don't know if this is real or even
yeah,
relevant. And then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna say because it might be for you. And that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When I the last collective reading I did in my membership, it was funny because it was like random grandfather energy, random a blue ball. There was like a black chair. It was like so random. And I'm like, I don't even want to upload this because this is so stupid. But I was like, whatever, spirit was like, do it. So one of the girls in there is just getting into mediumship, and I was, trying to help her a little bit. I'm gonna start offering it again. I used to do it all the time, and I had to take a break because I probably wasn't in the best space to my own healing kind of thing. So I took a break from it. And she was like, I was gonna make fun of you, and I was like, what do you mean? She was like, because I was like, this is not real. I don't believe in it. And from that reading that I did, she was like, I believe you. And I was like, you don't have to believe me. Just believe yourself. As you could make fun of me. That's okay. Because I'm just going to look back at you and be like, you're weird. I know when, but it was like in that moment,
Mm.
reading made her believe because she was like, for you to say a black chair, she was like, that's where my grandfather sat and we used to play in the pool. She was like, the blue pool was connected to my grandfather and his black chair. And I was like, how would I know that? I don't know that. I was channeling that. And she was like, okay, it makes sense. And I was like, I don't do this for you to believe me, but I was hoping by me posting this will give you some trust and clarity and truth that this is true and your grandfather is trying to come through. So I love that you explained all that because it's true. And when we first start doing it, it is kind of like, I mean, sometimes I'm like, is this true? Am I just making this up? What is this? This doesn't make any sense. And in that moment when I'm questioning, I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. And then I realize, well, I'll remember what that happened or what was said because maybe this is for somebody else. And it normally is. I just don't know when it is for somebody. And I just don't care to know when the time is. It's just, it could be on a call. It could be out with talking to a friend. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I think this message is for you. Or a dream. I have dreams, or my dream, like my messages come through dreams for like clients or myself, and I'm just like, so I have a weird dream that I had last night, and this could be for you. And most of the time, it's like, oh yeah, that I asked my spirit team to tell you, so you could tell me. I'm like, can you not? I want to go to sleep. Okay, do it for yourself. I don't want to be up dreaming all night. So before we wrap up, I want to kind of talk a little bit about modern witchcraft and rituals. So your background is a pagan witch, which is a big part of your practice. So what does witchcraft mean to you, and how do you kind of integrate the magic, intuition work, and the rituals all in? How about if somebody, like I'm just saying, like, could you share a very simple ritual or spell for beginners who like to explore their own magic or go down the pagan path?
Okay, yeah. So well, the way I see witchcraft is this, is that witchcraft is using like the natural powers around you basically to be able to do for yourself, honestly, is how I see it. Whether that's the natural elements or the spirits of the land or astrological events. Like there's so many things at play that are naturally occurring around us. And it's like if you have a focused intention, um, and you also believe and you're utilizing those specific energies and properties, then it's absolutely possible. And I just always thought it was like, wow, like I felt in my personal journey that spirit was leading me for what I could do for myself and why things were they were, because that's how I learned at first was from my spirit team. They're like, yeah, you're able to do this and this. I felt like they were just trying to help me remember like me as a soul, but also try to help me just understand like, okay, what can I do to protect myself or do this? So that's how I see witchcraft is this, okay, I can utilize this and that, and this is happening, and that's something I can have access to, and I can use it for this. And um, just as a pagan witch, I just feel like it's not just me utilizing what's around me, it's me honoring the cycles and rhythms, and allow myself to be in tune with that and utilize that. Like that's what it means for me. Like the weather, the astrological stuff, the time of the year, we choose to honor and celebrate that life and those peaks of energy and those dips. So that's what that means to me. And when I think of just a simple witchcraft, this beginner thing is you can utilize rainwater. You could collect some rainwater in like a cup or bowl or whatever that is. And you can, if there's any debris, you can strain it. But basically, you can use that rainwater and save it for the full moon and charge it so you can have full moon water. Some people like to add it to their bath or their shower just to add more cleansing, like intentional cleansing. Some people like to take that water and use it for divination, where they keep it in a bowl and they scry and gaze into it and they have an intention to connect with spirit, and that could be a way. And another simple witchcraft thing is you could simply just go outside and ask the spirits of the wind to carry away what you don't want to carry with you no more, like what you're ready to release, and let the breeze take it away. And then and I think an unhinged witchcraft tip is if somebody is really upsetting you, I mean honestly, just tell the land spirits or the water spirits, they'll take care of it. They're for you, and they definitely don't play. Like they are unhinged in themselves. So if you want some raw power, you got to utilize the nature spirits around us because they're already upset. Like, they're already upset, so you might as well have them assist you. Like that's how I say it. Like just tell it to the tree or tell it to the ocean, and you'd be surprised. Like, let's see what happens to them. Okay.
I love that your unhinged thing. It's funny. My friends, they think it's, I mean, I probably joked about this a little bit too much, but a lot of people have been pissing me off lately, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stick your ass in the freezer. Now, granted, I say this with full disclosure, I don't do that. I mean, I have done that, but it's like my neighbor just won't leave me alone. I'm gonna stick her in the freezer. You got to be very careful with that because I know karma comes back for that. But it's like it was like I had as soon as I did it, I knew. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get sick. I just know it. And like my friends, I'll ask a question. They're like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't want to get stuck in the freezer. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are crazy. But yeah, no. I mean, you could do it's tons of different, make sure you go follow her on all of her social media. I'm sure you probably do a lot of videos and stuff about that. So people can go follow you. But before we wrap up, is there just one nugget of wisdom that you can offer somebody that is diving more deeper into their intuitive practices?
I'm going to say this is that when you are trying to master your intuitive abilities, the way I honestly did it was by just like you practicing with your physical senses every day. That's what I did with my intuitive abilities. I allowed myself to intuitively feel gut feelings and goosebumps. I allowed myself to hear intuitively and to see and know and smell it. Like it's just if you like you can switch off on the focus, like, like every day of the week and pause when you need to. But it's just, if you focus on that as a foundation, which is going to be literally like that, like that's really what it is. Like that's the foundation of your intuitive abilities. It's like your intuitive senses. So I encourage you to just focus on that raw element of it, because that's really what's going to help you branch off into like the big stuff, like astral travel and like all that stuff people see as advanced. You have to be able to start with the clairvoyance and empathy and claircognizance, the download, like that stuff comes first. And when you prioritize that, then you can expand and go into the other stuff. But people try to jump around. And if you really are about mastering it, start with the foundation, because then you'll have the strong roots to be able to grow tall and do what you want to and have a far outreach, because that's possible. Everyone has the capability, but you have to choose it. You have to develop it. It's like a muscle, and you may have your own natural, unique, best way, and that's for you to find out. And if you're trying to master it beyond just the senses, don't be afraid to utilize things that make you feel good when you're trying to practice that, whether that's a special drink, or like a crystal, or you have like a special tree that you like to sit under. Like, allow yourself to feel as comfortable and in your element as possible while you're trying to practice developing it. And that's my best tip.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Natasha on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with somebody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Make sure you check out all her links below on the description box if you're listening to this or you're watching this over on YouTube. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you are a current or inspiring to be fempreneur, suffering from the fear of being seen and or feel very triggered when you're building your business, reach out to me at the Mermaid Light about my Rich and Resilient Biz Baddies. This is a collective text message Voxer support group designed to help you heal your triggers and turn imposter syndrome into bad bitch energy. If you resonate with our conversations and insight, don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission. Remember, your journey to unwavering certainty and purpose is ongoing. So please make sure you stay connected with us on social media. Keep manifesting greatness in your life. Until next time, this is Lauren from the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Stay enlightened, stay inspired, and keep manifesting your extraordinary path.